what we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
They're staring at me. See them?
Start off the card. So we're going to start from the main fight in the card. We have Bellator Heavyweight Championship. Ryan Bader against Valentin Moldavsky. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, so in the main event, it's pretty clear. Like, we have Ryan Bader. The guy's got a lot of UFC experience, a lot of Bellator experience, and like the strength of schedule definitely falls in his favor. What's the biggest question going into this fight is, he just got chin checked by Corey Anderson. He lost his light heavyweight title just prior to that as well. And where he's really going to be at going into this fight. For me, like, I really have to side with Valentin Moldavsky on this one. I've watched obviously a lot of tape on this guy. He definitely starts off slower. He has a lot of decisions to his record, but it's just not a fight where I can trust Ryan Bader's chin at, especially at heavyweight too. Just he seems to be fading later in his career. And I think it's going to be time for a new champion. And I think Ryan Bader is going to be the first guy to lose two titles back to back.
Yeah, I probably agree. Unfortunately, I like Bader. Always liked his style and fought on the card with him. He was a super nice dude. But if I had to put money down, I'd probably go with Moldavsky or Moldavsky. How do you say it?
Moldavsky.
Moldavsky, I think.
Yeah. I would just say, as far as where they're at in the career, his background, he's one of Fedor's guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'd take that bet. I'd probably put money on it. Who's the favorite?
Moldavsky. He's minus 350. He's a huge favorite.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the one thing we should maybe have said. So from my take on this is, Bader's sitting at plus 250. He's 28-7, and Moldavsky's 11-1, sorry. Corey Anderson is possibly one of the best 205ers in the world right now. One of the most underrated 205ers in the world right now. And I definitely capitalized on that bet, because I definitely faded Bader in that. Nemkov, once again, heavyweight, light heavyweight, he's a monster too. Yeah, Lyoto Machida, I think that was his last win. Ryan Bader beat Lyoto Machida in his last fight, which is whatever. But I just think that the wrestling of Ryan Bader, and he does have the hands, I just think at plus 250, yeah, Moldavsky come in and land a big shot. But I'm almost want to take a shot at the dog money on Ryan Bader. I never thought I'd say it. But at plus 250, that's just a little ridiculous. I think that, before his loss to Nemkov, he was on a 7-fight win streak, and everybody was singing his praises as a world beater in Bellator. So I know that's a little bit of time ago now because the pandemic slowed things down, but I'm going to fade both of you, and I'm going to go Ryan Bader in the main event. So we'll jump into the next one. Speaking of fading, we got Smooths. I put a toothpick in my mouth when I fight an MMA fight, Benson Henderson, against Islam Mamedov. I didn't even watch recent tape on Benson in this one. I know that I think he's coming off his last fight was a win, but I'm fading Benson in this one. He's a plus 290, and I don't care where his plus money is. I know that Mamedov is minus 435 as a favorite. So we got some Bellator lines going. But I just see him win. His scrambles are good. His top game is solid. His grappling's good. Striking solid. I don't see Benson winning anywhere. And I think he's going to get stalled out at points. You're going to see him on his back trying to figure out what to do. And I think we see Mamedov win this fight. What's your thoughts, Josh?
I would say, yeah. I would see Benson getting put down and fishing for arm bars, fishing for things like that, but not really being successful and running out of time and probably end up losing the decision.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one to call. That's exactly, I think, where this ends up 99% of the time. So the line isn't even actually, it's sort of misrepresented. Nick, what's your thoughts on this one? I know we're all sort of on the same page.
Yeah, we're all going to be on the same page. Even the betting lines are on the same page. Even for him to win by decision is a minus 140 right now. So they're seeing the exact same thing that we're seeing. They're not going to give you plus money on a prop or anything. It'll be Benson Henderson on his back for the better part of 3 rounds. And be a unanimous decision win.
Most definitely. Okay, so we'll lead to the next fight in the card. If you want to take the lead on this one, I know that you have a little bit of a take on it.
Yeah, but honestly, I like Aidan Lee in this fight. I like how he's like this fight's pretty closely lined. Like you have a minus 145 right now for Henry and a plus 110 for Aidan Lee. But I like Aidan Lee's fighting style. He's very like wide, almost stands like in a karate stance. And I think he'll be able to honestly point fight his way to a decision here. I know that with Corrales, like he's gonna come out, he's gonna throw big bombs. But even then, like if you look at Lee's ground game, he's got a fair bit of wins by submission. And I think he'll be able to ride out a decision in the spot. So for me,
Josh?
this is
I don't know a whole lot about Aidan Lee. I've fought on the same card as Henry before, and I've seen him fight a bunch of times. Banger and tough, durable guy. And this fight actually dropped down to bantamweight, and then I think the cut was too much for him, and I think he drained himself too much, and they got knocked out. And I think so. He's going back up to featherweight, which I think probably the better move for him. But you judging what just from what you said, I don't know a whole lot about Aidan Lee, but I mean, if Henry doesn't catch him, then it's probably more favor the other guy. I don't know if he'll finish Henry, but probably a better shot. Who's the favorite? You say was it Aidan?
no, it was
Aidan,
Henry,
Henry's
but
the favorite.
yeah, but it's pretty close. Like it's a plus 110 for Aidan Lee, so it's
Yeah,
almost
it's pretty much a pick 'em.
yeah.
It's pretty much a pick 'em at this point. Yeah, I mean, in watching tape, I saw obviously with Corrales, he's been around for a little bit longer. He's a guy that bangs. He's a guy that crashes the pocket. He's a guy that has some boxing, but also some wide out shots. He's got some wide hooks, so he leaves himself open at times when he's striking. Aidan Lee, yes, he does use the distance sometimes to his benefit, but I don't know if he uses his 5-inch reach advantage to his full benefit properly. And watching the tape, I think there was many times where he actually closed the distance on himself. And I don't know if that's a smart move because, yeah, he has some submissions on the ground, and I know that Corrales doesn't really want to take it there. It's going to be standing most of the time. But I don't know. I just think that there could be some sloppy moments for Aidan Lee. I don't know if I'm sold on the dog in this situation. I think the strength of schedule, I'm going to be on the other side of this once again with you guys. I'm going to go with Corrales in this one, although I do see exactly what you're looking at, Nick. I don't know. I just think with the records where they are right now, the time he's had in the cage, I think it's going to be the difference. I saw a little bit of mistakes and holes in the game of Aidan Lee that I think he has to shore up. So, all right, we'll move on to the next fight in the card. We have Sabah Homasi against Jaleel Willis. So with Sabah Homasi, he is 15-10, and Aidan Willis is 15-3. Homasi is the dog at plus 185, and Willis is minus 250 favored. Biggest thing with Homasi, he's coming out of American Top Team, and he's got power in both hands. He throws sometimes with reckless abandon, has banged and been in there with some of the best, has been chinny. And this is why I think the line is where it is right now. I think that they think that Willis is going to chin check him. And Homasi is coming off 2 losses. Willis is coming off 1 loss. I sort of like the dog money on this because Homasi can catch people, and I know that Willis is an LFA champion and a vet, and I know he has really strong wrestling, but I'm not 100% on either side of this yet. I don't know where I'm going to go with it because Sabah Homasi is a guy that you bet against and he burns you, and then you bet for and he burns you. So it's a tough one, but I may lean with Sabah on this one. Nick, I know that you have a take on this, but we'll jump to Josh and then we'll jump back into your take on it.
I'll go with Sabah. I don't know a whole lot about Willis. I've seen Sabah fight a bunch. Same manager as me, so I get to see all his training and stuff like that. And yeah, he's a guy that likes to get in there and bang it out with some of the best. And had Paul Daly rocked, and not many guys do that. I'll go with him.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of lives and dies on his shield and his sword, and he goes all in. And I think that, Willis's style is clean striking, but I think that, I'm still on the fence on this one. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, honestly, I think what you said is very true. I think there's a lot of recency bias going into this with Homasi, like how the Paul Daly fight went, the fact that he has been chin checked a couple times recently. But if you look at Willis's tape, he's a very slow starter, and that's not something Homasi's going to let him get away with. Like any of Homasi's fight, the guy's in your face 100% of the time, whether he's going for takedowns or trying to take you out, throwing flying knees. So I'm with you guys on this one as well. Like I like the dog on this. I'm going to bet the dog on this because I think he'll be able to go in there and take Willis out. I just think Willis is too much of a slow starter, and he shoots for his takedowns and grapples a fair bit. But Homasi being an American at AKA, he trains a lot with his grappling. You've seen in a lot of his fights where he's got good takedowns as well. So I think he'll be able to nullify Willis in this and probably get a late finish.
Okay, we're getting a little doggy on the Bellator card. I like it. Next fight in the card, we have we've hit the main card. There's one more fight I want to touch on the prelims, and it's typically because it's people that are basically at your heels, Josh. We have Darian Caldwell and Enrique Barzola in the prelims, the main prelim on the fight card in the bantamweight division. Darian Caldwell 14-5-0, and Enrique Barzola 16-5-2. Barzola is coming in as the favorite. He is sitting at a -125, and Caldwell is -105. So it's pretty close to a pick'em. Barzola, unremarkable. I'm going to be honest. There's some strong wrestling, but from what we've seen in recent fights, he basically got dominated by Ronnie Yaya, not in a exciting fashion, but Yaya did what he did and implemented his game plan on him, and he didn't really have answers for it. So when you have a Darian Caldwell who is a top game guy, and he's going to come in and likely take him to the mat at some point, and even in the stand-up, I think has the edge. I'm going to lead Darian Caldwell on this one. I think that he has the game to beat Enrique Barzola. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you watched tape on these guys, Josh, already, and what's your thoughts on this?
I don't know a whole lot about Enrique. I know Darian. I've seen him fight a whole bunch, man. He's been around and top-notch wrestler. The biggest problem with Darian, he just wrestles too much sometimes. And his last fight, he took Higo down and kind of stayed in guard, and Higo just pounded him from the bottom and actually won the decision from it. So I think he'll learn from that. And I think he'll wrestle this guy, but he'll open up a little bit more on the ground. I don't know if we get the finish on him, but I think he'll win the decision.
Okay, and Nick?
This is kind of a dicey fight for me. One, I'd stay away from betting wise, just because both these guys have a really good wrestling background and they're both going to want to wrestle. And I think you end up with one of these sloppy decisions where it's going to be a split and it's probably not going to go in your direction.
Fair enough. I like that take. And then one other person I just want to ask you about, Josh, you might not have crossed paths with him at Alpha Male, but Chris Gonzalez is fighting on the card against Sadawat. The records are pretty varied and different as far as strength of schedule. Do you have any insight on Chris Gonzalez?
Yeah, I know Chris well, man. Good dude, like very, very high level wrestling. Probably one of the best wrestlers in the room there. We don't do obviously a lot of training there just because he fights at 55. A lot bigger than me, so we don't do much work together. But yeah, just from what I've seen and whatnot, yeah, very good wrestler. He's only had the one loss to the what's his name, the Asian guy.
Horiguchi? No, not
Yamaguchi.
That's in your division.
Yeah, I forget his name. Anyways, but a good fighter, and that's his only loss. But I think Sadawat's been around and very well rounded, had a lot of wins, a lot of losses, and just very durable, tough guy. But I think if Chris can really, go back and utilize his wrestling here, and I don't know if he'll get the finish, but I see him win the decision.
For sure. All right, brother. I mean, we got the Bellator card coming up this weekend. I know that you're amped up coming back to this lovely state that we live in. I call it a state now, not a province. And man, I just look forward to seeing you in the cage. Hopefully they can get you a fight on that card because that would be ideal for you for training and just preparing for everything. And look forward to talking to you again and seeing you soon, man.
Sounds good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The champ, John Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.